Welcome to Anything Agricultures and Chicken Predators and What to Do About Them for your small farm homestead. As always, please like and subscribe to Anything Agriculture so I can keep making content for you and your homestead. If you're watching this, you may have already experienced the devastation and heartbreak of your flock being attacked. It is not uncommon, but it is something you can prevent. So please keep going and we'll talk about different predators and how to prevent them. We're going to jump right in and talk about the one misidentified predator that I saw most, and that is a mink. Minks are very elusive. Most people have never seen them. They usually attack at night. They're silent, they're swift, and they kill with amazing efficiency, often before the birds can even make a noise. They usually live nearby, usually under sheds or other structures, and they can decimate a flock an entire night, sometimes even stacking up the bodies. Their kills are pretty violent. They will look like they've chewed off the heads and lick their blood. Mink proofing is the number one way to protect your birds from mink. You're going to use a hardwire cloth that with the opening smaller than a half an inch. You do not want to use chicken wire. You want to use hardwire cloth. It's tougher and it will help keep the minks out. In addition, sometimes having a good dog with a little bit of terrier in it will be great at rooting minks out from your property. But it is crucial that you inspect your coop all the time and the surrounding areas for any signs of minks, like little paw prints or chewed areas where they've been trying to get into your coop. This is a picture of hardwire cloth, not chicken wire, but hardwire cloth. This is what you're going to want to protect your birds with around your coop. I would just forego chicken wire altogether, but this is what you need to use. It's hardwire cloth. It's at least a half inch or smaller, and this will protect your coop and your birds. The next predator I'd like to talk about is foxes. Foxes are a snatch and grab kind of predator, and they'll grab them right off the roost. Sometimes you'll hear some noise from your coop, and sometimes you won't. They usually like to attack during dusk and dawn. Protecting your chickens from foxes is a combination of physical barriers and being very vigilant. One of the most effective methods to secure a coop is using very sturdy materials. Do not use chicken wire. You're going to hear me say that a lot. Chicken wire does not protect your birds. Their hardwire cloth is much more resistant to foxes than chicken wire, and chicken wire is cheap and very hard to work with. You may need to dig down a little bit in the dirt and put hardwire cloth so they can't dig in and get underneath your coop or in your coop that way, especially if you have a dirt floor in your coop. In addition to securing your coop, another way to help foxes not attack your birds is to install an electric fence around the perimeter of your chicken run. This can help keep them from getting into your chicken run and into your coop. In addition to physical barriers, you need to keep your coops clean and your runs clean. It's very easy to throw scraps out for your birds and they love them, but if there's extra scraps or anything, that will attract foxes. It's a big lure. Using motion-activated lights are also a way to scare away potential predators. And if it's a real problem, consider getting a guard animal, such as a dog, and sometimes even donkeys work for this. The combined strategies are going to keep your chickens safer, especially from the risk of fox attacks. I want to talk about snakes real quick because snakes are something we see a lot of. In Indiana here, we have rat snakes and they wind up in coops fairly often. I know more than once I've been into my chicken coop and I reached in to grab eggs and there was a snake literally in the laying box eating the eggs as I was trying to get them from him. Very scary. So we need to protect your chickens from snakes. Also, they like to eat the little chickens. So when you've just brooded out chickens and they're just being introduced to the coop, that is prime time for a snake to have a little snack. Again, you're going to do preventative measures is mostly what you're going to do here. Small gaps and small holes. So you're going to use hardwire cloth. If snakes have been a repeating problem, you're going to use a very small hardwire cloth around your run and in your coop. That's going to be your best way to keep them out. Another way to help keep snakes out of your coop is to elevate the coop off the ground. That deters snakes from getting access. Also, make sure there is no debris, tall grass, wood piles, any places where snakes can hide. And when my old chicken coop, I had an old stump that I had no idea was full of snakes, and it was right next to my chicken coop. So I had to tear that out so I wouldn't have so many problems with snakes. Once I did that, no problems. There is some snake repelling plants that may work. If you already have a problem with snakes, these are probably not going to work as well. But plants like marigolds, lemongrass, anything that's got a real citrusy kind of citronella smell to it may help. But snake proofing with mesh and physical barriers is your number one go-to. Raccoons are number one predator of chicken coops. They are smart, they are capable, and they can get in and out of chicken coops and latches. They are very difficult to deter. Protecting chickens from raccoons, again, you need a very secure environment. You need to make sure that you're closing up your coops at night. Make sure there's no weak points because they're very good at manipulating hardwire cloth and anything that might be a little bit loose. Again, make sure you have secure latches on your chicken coop doors. I saw a raccoon get into a chicken coop by manipulating the latch and getting in. Motion activated lights actually do work for raccoons unless they're getting very used to it, and that might not work. If a raccoon does attack, it is important to act very calm. First, try to scare the raccoon away, make loud noises. But after the attack, make sure your chickens are inspected for injuries. Make sure there's, any necessary medical care, and reinforce your coop. Raccoons typically attack in the evening and throughout the night. Some of the attacks will look like there's usually a struggle, lots of feathers, broken eggs, sometimes missing chickens or injured chickens. They're not as great of predator killer as maybe say the minks are. They tend to be a little messier of a predator. They also love baby chicks. My quick story about that is we were brooding a bunch of chicks in our garage, and unbeknownst to us, we had a raccoon living in our garage. And every day I'd come out, I'm like, I seem to be having less and less chicks, but I was brooding out a lot of chicks at the time. And I wound up, he was coming down and snacking on 2 or 3 a night. So I was losing chickens at a pretty fast rate. And by the time I finally cottoned on, I lost about 20 chicks. So they are crafty and silent, and they can be very deadly. Gotta mention coyotes. These are a super cunning predator. They can dig under fences, they can squeeze through small gaps, and they are not usually afraid of humans that much. Again, securing your coop and making sure it's closed at night is going to help keep coyotes at bay. But we had a coyote problem at my old farmstead, and we literally had to shoot the coyotes because they kept coming back and snatching and grabbing our chickens. They tend to be a snatch and grab predator. You may have some feathers, but usually your birds are just gone. Coyotes will generally make some noise, so the birds generally start making a lot of noise. You can use a water spray to spray them to get them out of your coop. Quickly, if you don't have a gun right away, which most people don't carry one with them all the time, at least I don't. You need to clean up any mess to make sure that that's not an attractant. But once you get coyotes around, they will keep coming back and checking for any chickens or that may have escaped the coop. So you need to be very vigilant if coyotes are a problem. I need to mention possums as a threat to your chicken flocks. They're usually very opportunistic. So if your coop isn't secure or you've left it open, there's a good chance that they will raid your chicken coop. They tend to search for eggs. They will eat young or weak chickens. Usually they eat part of it and then leave the rest, or if it's a small chicken, they'll just take it with them. They will dig under fences to gain entry. So again, sinking some hardwire cloth into the ground may be your best bet. They will eat your chickens. They will spread diseases through their droppings and their salivas. To protect your chickens, again, reinforce your coop with lots of hardwire cloth. Make sure there's no places for them to be able to get in. Elevating your coop off the ground will make it more difficult for possums to get in because they're such an opportunist that might just be too much work for them. So regular inspecting your coop and your runs to make sure the chickens are safe. If you happen on an attack with a possum in your chicken coop, possums do play possums. If you scare them enough, they will actually faint. And then you can take a shovel and get them out of your chicken coop and then dispose of them in the way you feel fit. Skunks are a significant problem for chicken flocks. They are an opportunist, but they are very good at raiding chicken coops. We actually had one in our chicken coop at one point. We had to scare it away, but they can be very vicious. They can eviscerate a bird, so you wind up with a kill that's kind of really, really messy. They do spread diseases, not to mention that they stink. You need to protect your chickens from them. Again, reinforce your coop. Make sure that you're closing the doors at night because they tend to be evening, dusk, dawn kind of predators. Elevating your coop can make it much more difficult for skunks to get access. That's why a lot of times you'll see coops that are elevated. Inspect your coop and run often to make sure that you are protecting against skunk attacks because skunk attacks are pretty nasty. Now, everybody loves a good barn owl, and barn owls and owls are great to have on your property, except that they do like to have poultry and chicken once in a while. Owl attacks can be pretty brutal. They're usually a snatch and grab kind of predator, and later you might find a tuft of chicken feathers somewhere else. Again, you want to keep your coops really secure. I knew somebody who had a coop in an old silo, and what happens, the owls were up in the silo roosting, and they would come down and have some chicken for lunch until they had to stop it. One way to deter them away is to make sure that you have some sort of netting or something over your chickens during the day so that they're not going to be snatched and grabbed. And they will take them during the early evening hours and the early morning hours. We tend to think of them as completely nocturnal, which they are, but they will start hunting as soon as it starts getting a little bit dark. Motion activated lights seem to work. And alarms can startle owls from them approaching. Sometimes decoys work, scarecrows work, mylar tape has worked. So these are some things to think about. If it is known that you have hawks in the area, and I'm sure you've seen them flying around, so you'll kind of know, you need to put a meshing or wire over the chicken run so that they can't swoop down and grab your birds. Also, you want to give plenty of hiding spots for your chickens, bushes or trees or shelters when they're in their run so that they have a place to cover when a hawk is spotted. They have very keen eyesight, and they are amazing at seeing hawks when I haven't seen them before either. Motion activated lights, alarms also can discourage hawks, but they do tend to get used to it, so you'll need to change up your strategies. Mice pose a significant threat to your chicken flock, mostly due to the fact that they spread diseases and contaminate food and water sources with their droppings. They are notorious for chewing through things: feed bags, netting, nesting in bedding boxes, leaving droppings that can have bacteria and parasites in them. Also, mice attract larger predators: snakes, raccoons, foxes, anything that will eat a mouse, such as like an owl or even hawks, that will pose a bigger risk to your flock. You need to protect your flock, make sure that your coops are clean and rodent-free containers for your food, inspect for signs of mice, and some use traps and natural deterrents. If you want to use a mouse baiting station to help control your mouse problem, these are really easy to make out of a long piece of PVC and some poison blocks in the center. There are some formulated poison blocks that will not pose a threat to other predators. Barn cats are really good, but they generally also are interested in the birds if they're really good predators. If they're not interested in your birds, then you've got a great way to keep your mice at bay. Also, one thing you can check to see if you have a mouse problem is they will chew off the tail feathers off of your birds. So always inspect your flock to make sure there's no damage going on. This is an example of a mouse baiting station, and I particularly like this one because the bait blocks are suspended inside so that if the bait station gets knocked around or moved, that the bait blocks don't come sliding out. There's 100 different ways of doing this, and a lot of easy DIY ones to make. If you've noticed that your flock is starting to be a little more stressed out or starting to lose feathers or something like that, you may have a predator coming and visiting and just staking out what's going on around the coop. So this is very important that you get your preventative measures in place. Chickens are a wonderful thing to have, but you don't want to feed the local wildlife with your chickens. Once they do get chickens, any of these predators, they will be back and they will inspect your coop, and they can inspect that coop to make sure that it is still secure and there's no chickens falling around for up to 5 years and sometimes even longer. It is very crucial that you make the repairs in a very timely manner to protect your flocks. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe to Anything Agriculture. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section and I will get right back to you.